Hey everyone, Alejandro here from J Group over at Fairway with a quick market update, I hope. This is for you guys Monday morning. I'm recording this Sunday night because I really do think that this next week is going to be incredibly critical for all of us, including our clients and everyone that is in the real estate and mortgage industry. And so I wanted to share some data points with you, some information, and talk about where we currently are, give you some perspective to where we have been in the past and what we've seen happen. And then also talk about what are some of the things that I think we can start doing today to best help our clients find success in this, what is usually considered the prime time and busiest part of the year. So I'm going to share my screen with you right now, and we're going to go over a few things. I hope you hang tight and watch the whole thing. I do certainly hope that you find it helpful. And of course, if you have any questions, just let me know. So let's get started. All right. First things first, I want to talk to you guys about what we've seen over the course of the past few months. Overall, we've seen continued improvement, and for the first time in a really long time, I was starting to feel like rates were settling and getting sticky. And by sticky, what I mean is that they were actually kind of hovering closer to 6% and wanting to get away. Now, a lot of that had to do with the poor economic reporting that we had been getting, low job numbers, inflation was sticking and cooling down overall. And that helped, really alleviate a lot of the pressure on mortgage bonds, but there was still a lot of volatility, right? But overall, you could see all of this improvement that led to rates getting better all the way up until Friday, February 27th. That was the day before the war with Iran was started or announced. Now, when this was announced on Saturday, I assumed it was going to be bad news. I wasn't sure how bad, but it's never good when something like this happens because it's really just another compounding factor on the unpredictability that we had seen already throughout the year. But as expected and as I feared, unfortunately, we had a really rough week last week. Now, I want to keep it in perspective too. Now, for those of us that work in this industry and that do this every day, going from 5.8, 5.9 to 6.1, 6.2 is not the end of the world, right? Most of us just kind of feel like, what's the big deal? Like, it's fine. But the fact is that it is a big deal for a lot of our clients. A lot of them have, if you think about it, have been waiting on the sidelines for a really long time. And they started hearing news about rates getting into the fives, so they jumped in, wanted to get something done, and then just to see it kind of evaporate and go away within a couple of days, that can be really disheartening, right? And so part of the reason that this conversation is so important to me is that I think that we all have to be on the alert and understand that speed to response and acting quickly and helping our clients get through this process is going to be important. It's one of those things that's a very delicate balance. We don't want to rush clients through, but we also want them to know just how important it is for them to act quickly. So I'm going to keep kind of touching on that subject a little bit, but let's get back to some of these data points. So when you look back on the past 6 months, you can see that there has been volatility throughout those 6 months, lots of ups and downs, but for the most part, almost holding this steady line here, which is that rates going between, a 6.3 to a 5.9 back and forth. The past year, however, was way more volatile than that. You can see back in April of 25, this is when the tariffs were announced. There was a huge drop in mortgage bonds. Rates went up about 3/4 to a 0.5 point, if I remember correctly, around this time. And then ever since then we had these big swings up and down and up and down and up and down. So what makes this any different, right? We look at this and think, well, this is nothing compared to what we've seen in the previous year. It's business as usual. And the fact is that it really isn't business as usual because this time we are involved in the war. Our country is involved in the war, and our, economic market experts are telling us that things are going to get pretty dicey over the course of the next few weeks. And so let's talk about why that is. When we talk about other wars going around in the country that have impacted us, things like Russia and Ukraine that obviously involve us, they do put constraints on potential access to shipping and access to oil. Prices for oil go up generally when there are wars, but this one particular war seems to have pretty much everything to do with oil. And when you look at what crude oil has done since the war was announced, it is honestly pretty staggering. We were seeing an average price somewhere about 66.2 is now at 109 reported on crude oil WTI. Over here in this other report, they're reporting something slightly different, but you can see it's at 108. This was, let's go back to the past month. We can see over here on the 27th where we were $67 a barrel is now $90.9 a barrel. That is an insane uptick in the cost of oil. And so part of what is unique about this particular war is that we are directly involved, number one, and also it is directly impacting oil prices. And oil prices happen to be one of the most inflationary elements or measurements to look at. And I expect that tomorrow morning or this morning when you're watching this on Monday, that we are going to see this really suffer. And we're going to see rates get hit pretty bad. Now, I always worry about sending market updates like this because the truth is that I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be a fact. I don't know that rates are going to hurt really bad, but I can't think of anything that is more directly tied to inflation than oil. And so I would expect that they are going to be hit pretty bad. Now, in the past, we have gotten reports, economic reports that should impact rates, and they don't. And then we have other reports that really shouldn't, and they do. So I'll be honest with you, I'm completely lost as far as what we're going to see tomorrow. But I thought it was important to try to get ahead of this because I wanted to start having a conversation with as many of our partners as possible about what they should expect, what they should look for, and then how we can help our clients. So I would expect insane volatility. We've been having that for the past year and a half. That part isn't new. But I'm talking about at another level. We're likely going to see wild swings because you have to remember that mortgage bond securities, investors are making decisions based off of speculation. And a lot of times it is a simple comment by a politician or a Fed chair that can send the market, in one direction or the other. So definitely be very aware of what you are hearing in the news. Anything that impacts shipping, oil prices, Fed commentary, or any accelerations, with the war, any other countries joining in, those things are all going to be huge impacts to our mortgage bond securities market. And get ready to start having some of these conversations with your clients because you are going to feel that coming from them, the hesitation and the fear about what may happen in the next couple of weeks and potentially in the next several months. Those discussions will come. So how to help prepare you for those conversations is what this video really is all about. And number one, what I want to go into is I think that it's important for us to start having conversations with our clients about closing timeframes. In the past month, maybe half of our contracts have come in with really extended closing dates, 60-day, 70-day closings, 45-day closings, 55-day closings. That all has become normal. And it makes sense, right? It's been a buyer's market. Sellers want to get their houses sold, but they're not necessarily in a rush. They're just grateful that the house is getting sold. So there's a bunch of flexibility. This isn't like it was back in 2020 or 2021 when we were doing 7-day closings 24/7 and that was the norm. Right now, we're on the other side of the spectrum where we're having these really long closings. Now, why does this matter? It matters because when a client signs a contract for an extended amount of time, let's say it's 45 days, then we have to start looking as lenders for 45-day locks instead of 30-day locks. If it's a 60-day closing, we have to look at 60-day locks instead of 30-day locks. And that matters because people pay more the longer the interest rate lock frame is. So someone that has a 30-day closing window is going to likely get a better interest rate than someone that is doing a 60-day window or a 45-day window. Every 15 days or so is going to cost them around an eighth of a point in a buy down to pay for the extension, or in terms of the cost of the rate. So it's going to stack up for them, and they are going to be sensitive to that, especially because they're already taking a hit on rates going from 5.9 to 6.1, but now an extended time frame means that they're going to have to pay more to lock the rate for longer. And so I think it is important for us to start talking to them about wanting to keep the time frame inside of 30 days so that they could get the best options. I know that for us and for our office, we're very capable of holding together for 15-day closings. If we get 15-day closings, I'm all about it, because that means we can do 15-day locks and let's get this transaction done. But definitely talk to your clients, talk to your lender, whoever it is that you're working with and that you do business with, because those can be potential advantages or potential solutions to help your client, be able to lock a good rate and not have to pay more. Now, the other thing that your client can do is float the rate, right? They don't have to lock a 60-day lock. They can wait and see what the market does, but who wants to do that in this market where oil is going up almost 50%, in a matter of 4 days? That's scary, right? Nobody wants to go under contract and know that they're not going to lock for another 30 days while they're just watching the market fall apart. And so doing an extended closing time frame puts a client in a really difficult spot, because on the one hand, they want to lock today's rates and not pay for them, but their closing isn't for several months. So in an ideal world, these closings are going to be happening somewhere between 15 and 30 days to help put a client in a position where they can lock immediately when they go under contract and that they don't have to pay for extensions. I think that that's likely the most ideal situation that a person can be in. I know that I certainly would want to be in that situation where if I'm getting numbers for a home, that they are likely going to be the numbers that are going to stick, and not that I have to wait another couple of weeks before I can even lock a rate in. So definitely think about closing timeframes. They're going to be, a really big part of helping our clients out. The other thing I want to talk about is listing agents, and understand that listing agents are kind of like a completely different thing. I know that we don't have a whole ton of conversations with our partners when they are listing, but to all of you that work with me a bunch and that trust me, I know that you all are amazing at your jobs. I know that everybody has a lot going on, lots of offers, and you definitely don't want to hear anyone tell you how to do your job, and I'm not doing that. But I would just share with you that I know that things are going to change for a client if they're getting an offer, if they're sending an offer on Monday, but not hearing back from the seller for like another week, which has happened. There's a lot of back and forth. That week of waiting time could be potentially, very, very damaging to that potential buyer. And so their opinion of the purchase, their excitement about still being under contract a week later as the market is shifting can be, a precarious thing to count on. So I would just simply say that if there is anything that we can all do collectively to try to get our clients information and responses as quickly as possible, I don't think that there's going to be another time this year where that is more important because of what is going on around the world. So be quick, as I like to say, be quick, don't hurry. We don't want to rush our clients. We don't want to put them in a bad situation, but we also want to be on high alert so that we can act quickly and get our clients information and responses as fast as we possibly can. That ultimately is going to be the key to get through this, because I think the quicker that buyers can get responses on whether or not they're going to get chosen, the quicker they can make decisions about pursuing another home or going under contract or locking, and all of that other stuff falls into place the right way if we could be as quick as possible for our clients. Listen, I hope you guys found this helpful. This is the third time I've recorded this video. There was a lot more stuff I wanted to share with you, but to be honest with you, it's always a little bit nerve-wracking trying to decide what pieces of information that I want to share. But I tried to kind of lay it all out there today and tell you that yes, I am a little bit concerned about what could potentially happen tomorrow. And I am so hopeful, I am so very hopeful that I am wrong, that I am so wrong and that nothing happens tomorrow and it's nice and steady. That is what I'm hoping for. I will take that all day long. But all of the signs that I'm reading, all of the information that I'm looking at is telling me that we're in for a really rough week. So I wanted to make sure to get out in front of it so that you could do your best job and you could do your best job for your clients. As always, if you have questions, if you have follow-ups, if you want me to talk about something else that would be helpful, I would be happy to do that. But at least for today, that ends and wraps up my market update. I wish you all the very best, and let's go kick some ass. Let's go get some deals done. See y'all later. Bye.